Hello everyone, welcome to 3DDesignAcademy.com. In this lesson, we will continue with part 20 of the Lamborghini Aventador project. So continuing on from the previous lesson, I'm going to be working on the rear, and I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the lower, this corner over here. As you can see in this picture, I think this might be a better image. You'll see that there are a few details, so I'm going to try and cut that out. So let's go ahead and I'm going to grab this piece over here, and I'm going to grab this canvas over here, the rear image. Now it does look like it's a little bit different than the canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out a few curves, and I'm going to see if this matches with what we have. So let's go ahead, and I think I'm going to do a curve offset. So there's a little bit of thickness over here, a little bit thinner on this side. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm going to say offset distance, probably something like this. I think 8 or 9 is probably good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Same thing over here. And well, actually, I do feel like this side is a little bit thinner, but that could be just an illusion. But this side is definitely thinner because I think it's blocked by the panel over here. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce it, maybe something like that. So maybe I'll do 6. And on the lower corner, I'm going to say 9, like the other sides. I think that looks pretty good, and I'm going to go ahead and lay out some of the curves for the middle. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a curve like this, and it's going to be degree 2. And I'm going to switch this to degree 2 also. I mean, this is it's just a straight line, so I guess you guys don't really have to do it this way, but I'll just you can just make it a degree 1. But let's go ahead and lay out some curves. So I think I'm just going to snap it over here like this. And for this one, I think I'm just going to offset it. So I'm just going to grab this curve. I'm going to offset it 9 mils like this. So same thickness all the way around. And it looks like there are a few corners that I have to establish. So let me just go to the rear view like this. Okay. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to grab a curve for this side, and I'm going to grab a curve for this side like this. Actually, these ones, I'm wondering if I can just use a curve fillet. So I'm going to go to curve fillet. It's going to be chord. It's going to be G1 chamfer. I'm going to see if I can do this. Oh, actually, for this one, I probably have to project. I don't want curves flying all over the place. So I'm just going to grab this piece, and I'm going to project like this. And let's go ahead and do a curve fillet. So it's just going to be chord G0 chamfer like this. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to increase the size a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here. And let's just hide these curves. Well, actually, I shouldn't hide them. But I'm going to put them in the different layer. I'm going to just put it over here like this. And I'm going to say, I'm going to turn that off. And let's go ahead and do a curve fillet here again. Looks like it's a little bit big. I probably need to either make this one bigger or make this one a little smaller. So let's do both. So I'm going to maybe set that as 18. And this one I'm going to set it as 23. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe I do need to go a little bit bigger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project all these. Well, actually, let's do that first before I go anywhere. Okay, so this one, I think curve fillet might be not the best thing because the angle's a little bit, it's imbalanced, I should say. these are very, the distance between the theoretical line is a very equidistant, but this one is not. So I think I'm just going to use a regular curve to project that. So I'm just going to project something like this over here. I think that looks okay. Maybe I need to make this a little bit bigger. So maybe I'll just do 25 over here. And I'm going to maybe go 30. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and project and see what they look like. So I'm just going to project these lines, and this one probably needs to be a little bit longer, like this. Make that shorter over here. This one I can do that. And for these for these areas, I can just segment it. So what I can do is just click here and click here, curve and surface, and the this one in the middle I can just delete, and that'll give us the basic shape. So same thing over here. So I can just cut the curve and surface using those, and that'll allow me to do that. Okay, I'm going to extend this back over here, and I'm going to extend this one back over here, and let's just take a look at the shape. Okay, so I actually do think proportionally it's not that bad, to be honest. I was kind of worried that because it wasn't actually matching the canvas image over there, but I actually think that it's pretty close. And plus it's a minor detail, so I think we can probably just leave it like this. Now that's not how we read. I probably need to do some offsets, so let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, actually it doesn't look that bad. Although I think this might be a little bit bigger than I should have made it, so maybe I'll just go a little bit smaller. So maybe 20 for this one. Looks like it's not updating, so let's go ahead and untrim and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to make that a 20. Did it update? Oh, it didn't. Okay, so I think part of the reason why it might not be updating is probably because the curve and surface here is a little bit too short. So I'm going to just extend this back, extend this one back, and I'm going to try again. So I'm just going to go back to the curve fillet. It's going to be 20 over here. Oh, now it works. And I'm going to maybe set that as 25. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I would say that's good enough. I'm just going to project these two curves. This curve can be deleted. No longer need it, and I can just trim this piece out like this. Okay, so that looks good. Now the only problem is right now this is in a rear layer, so I'm just going to put in a default, and I'm going to go back and bring everything back. Okay, so now let's go ahead and trim some of the surfaces that's surrounding it, because right now I think they're sort of in the way. So I'm going to grab intersect with this lower surface over here. I'm going to trim this piece, and I'm going to trim that piece, and I'm going to trim this piece over here and this one. Oh, okay, so this one also needs to intersect against this one over here. So I'm going to say trim and trim. Okay, so that looks pretty good, and let's go ahead and do some flanges so that it has some thickness. So I'm just going to say hide unselected over here, and I can just grab the draft tool like this. I'm going to grab all the edges. It's going to draft this way. And actually, I do think that it's quite thick. So instead of 10, maybe I'll go 20. It probably needs to be at least that thick. Let's see if I can see. It's kind of hard to see over here. That doesn't really give us a clue as to how thick it's supposed to be. Okay, you know what? Let's see. So this is probably the best reference that we have regarding the thickness of this piece. So maybe I think 20 is not bad. Well, let's go ahead and see if this will give us a better clue. So I'm just going to a draft. Yeah, I think that's okay. I initially thought it might be a little bit too big, but I think this size might not be too bad for what we have here. Okay, so that said, however, I'm going to give it a little bit of draft. So I think I'm going to start with 10, not the right direction. So I'm going to get -10. Okay, so I probably need a little bit more because I do think that this all these surfaces have a very I guess a lot of draft angle on them. So I'm going to maybe go 15, and maybe I can do the same thing over here. 15, it looks like I need a minus at least that much, maybe even more. Maybe I'll go -20. Because if you see over here, you'll see that it's actually closing in quite fast. Well, maybe, part of the reason it's looking that way is because maybe it's a little bit tighter over here. So maybe I'll just leave it at -15 and just call it a day. Okay, so I will say that's good enough. And with the fillet, I think you should mimic better with this one. Plus, it's a very minor detail, so I don't think I need to sweat over every little shape. Although I think this might be a little bit too flat compared to the picture because I think it's supposed to be a little bit more vertical. So maybe I'll just do a little bit quick fix on that. And yeah, let's take a look. Okay, yeah, I think it needs to go up a little bit. So what I can do is just grab a curve like this, make it a little bit more vertical, and I can just extend this piece over here, and I'm just going to project like this, and let's take a look. Okay, so I think that's much closer to what it needs to look like, and let's just trim to make sure that it looks good. Maybe a little bit more. Like that. Okay, so I think that looks good. Now let's go ahead and delete this carbon surface over here. I don't need that anymore. Well, actually, I'm just going to leave it in project layer. So just in case I need it, I can bring it back. Okay, so now I'm just going to be doing the same thing, -15. And now because it's a draft, you'll see that the surfaces are actually not matching together on the ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say under draft options, I'm going to click on intersect flanges, and I'm going to say trim convert like this. Now some of the surfaces did not do that, so I gotta make sure that I can do that. So for this one, sometimes trim convert doesn't work. So trim does, however. I think most of the time it works. So it's just a matter of what you want to do. But because I probably need to manually adjust all the surfaces, trim convert probably might be a bit of a better option. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm just going to say intersect flanges. Trim convert is going to be on. The only problem is right now you'll see that all the surfaces are not exactly matching up. So let's try to figure out what the best way is to make sure that they're all aligned. Okay, so right now it doesn't look like this one is a little bit shorter. And I guess it just depends on what I want to make it as a basis. So I'm pretty happy with the length of this piece over here. So I think I'm going to set that as the base. And I'm going to try to set everything else with that length. So for this one, I do have to intersect like this. And I'm going to just pull it back. This one I'm going to extend. This one I'm going to extend. And now there might be a little bit deviation over here. So this for this one, it's just a matter of what you want to do. So you can either match this one with this one or vice versa. For this one, since this is more visible and we already have an intersection point over here, so I think I'm just going to align this one. Just easier to do. So I'm just going to align that piece over here. So now it went all the way to the end like this, and I'm going to turn blending on. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 like this. so that there's a gradual transition from here to here. Okay, pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and trim this piece over here. And I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for these ones. Again, I'm pretty happy with the lower one over here, so I'm going to try to match everything else to that. So let's go ahead and extend all the pieces over here like this. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, intersect. I'm going to extend, snap it back, and let's see how this measures up over here. Okay, so I extended all the way through. It's just a tiny little bit of difference. So it's actually working out quite well. So let me just go ahead and trim this piece. And for the last piece over here, I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other side, just align. Extra CV rows of 4, blend factor of 1 with blending checked on. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and let's go back to the rear. Okay, so with that little tiny detail, it just suddenly looks like the whole thing is a lot more, I guess, full. So I'm pretty happy with the result. Okay, so let's, now that's done, let's go ahead and add some of the details over here. Now this area I was kind of hesitant because I couldn't see a lot of details in the previous pictures I had, but I was able to get more references, so I think I am going to be able to do a little bit better job of making this a little bit more I guess close to the real thing. If you see over here, I thought it was just a blade that's going down all the way through. As you may have seen in this slope over here, but if you can see in this picture, you'll see that it actually bends. But I couldn't see the details on the other areas. I thought it was just going here and down like this. But if you see this one, you'll see that that's only on this section. In other areas, it's doing a little bit, few different things. So I think I probably need to combine a few elements and try to do them. So let's go ahead and do this one first. So for this one, I think I'm going to reference, let's see. Well, actually, yeah, I think this is probably the best one. I don't know if this is supposed to be this, this looks very sloped, but I'm not sure if this is too much. Well, only way to find out is, well, actually, yeah, I do think that's a little bit too sloped, so I might fix it a little bit. Now, that said, however, this has history over here, so I think I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and I'm going to pull this out over here. So what I can do is, well, actually I can just make the rail again. So let me just delete this one. It's going to be 1-on-1 parallel. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. Oh, not that way, this way. And let's go ahead and shorten this one a little bit. And find out where it needs to end up. Okay, so if you see this over here, let's see. So the theoretical is somewhere, now this is a little bit different exhaust. I think it's supposed to be an aftermarket, but if you see this point over here, you'll see that the theoretical runs through a little bit below the opening. So I can try to do the same thing over here. So what I can do is I can just push it up maybe about this point. I think that might be good. Now it looks like there's a little bit of draft surface here too. Yeah, I think that's probably a good point. And now let's go ahead and, well, not this one. Okay, yeah, I would say that's a pretty probably a good point. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap, now that we have this surface over here, I'm going to create another curve here like this. And I'm going to create this surface over here that slopes down. So I think, well, keeping it parallel should be okay. And I'm just going to use the stretch tool to make sure that it's a little bit angled. So I just want to make sure that it's very close to what we have over here. So it looks like this one is actually curving this way. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to grab this curve, get a little bit more crown like this. And I'm going to just do a slide over here like this. And that looks pretty good. Now, you'll notice that there's actually one more bend over here. This is the lowest part. I think that's what it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and do that too. So the rear doesn't really give us a good reference point for that. So I think I'm just going to go to a rear view. Okay, so looks like it actually needs to be even lower. Now, my question is there a bend over here? I'm starting to feel like there. Oh, there. Okay, so there is. All right. Oh, I was scared there for a second, but there's definitely a peak over here. I think there might be. I wonder if this was created just using one sheet. If there's, I wonder if it's supposed to be just one continuous sheet, which means this is probably not the best. Well, there's a little bend. But if I were to make this one sheet, that might, I might have to put a fillet on there. Or one thing I can do is I can just connect the curve from here to here like this. Is that the right one? I wonder why it's different. It shouldn't be different. Let's see. I'm wondering why. Okay, so now I'm a little scared. So, oh, okay, so that's why. Looks like it was snapped at a different point. Now, if you wanted to make this just a single surface, I would have to snap it this way, which would be actually extremely incorrect. So I think having a peak over here is okay. I don't know if I can really, maybe there is a peak and I'm just not seeing it. I mean, it would make more sense that there is a peak because everything else has a peak, and the angle I don't think just makes sense with this particular setup right over here. So I'm just going to keep the peak and I'm going to just keep all the surfaces as is. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, I definitely think that there's a peak. I think there's even a peak on this. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I don't know if it's supposed to be like a mesh or whatever. But there, I do see a peak over here too. So I think it's safe to say there's probably a peak that's running all the way down. Maybe it's just really hard to see because of the light. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it like that, and I think that looks good. Now let's go ahead and trim this bottom piece over here. So you'll see that this is supposed to be cut off, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to, well, I think this curve is probably the one to use. Okay, so looks like it's right. I think the theoretical is actually running through this. So let's grab this one. Okay, and I'm just going to trim it. So let's go back. I'm gonna project this one over here like this, and I'll just trim. Okay, and now let's go ahead and do the surface over here. So I'm just going to do a rail. I say parallel is good. Well, actually, I don't know if well, let's just I'm pretty sure I did parallel because the natural would give me a little bit curved surface like this. So I think just parallel might be fine. So I'm just going to do a rail parallel. I think that's good. And I just need to intersect it against that piece over here. But before that, I do think I need to get some of the vertical elements baked in over here. So let's go ahead and put some vertical fins over here and see if that matches. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, if you see the shape, well, it looks, well, actually it looks pretty flat, so maybe it's okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a curve like this. Oh, actually, we do have a canvas reference, so I probably should be just replicating that. So from the side view, well, not exactly side view, I think the angle is pretty much similar to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the stretch tool. I'm going to just base it off on the canvas. So I'm going to just do this and that'll be it. Okay, so I'm just going to, well, it doesn't need to be super exact, but it should be pretty close because, well, they should be complementary. Okay, so now let's go ahead and, well, not that curve, but bring this curve out like this. I'm going to turn, I'm actually going to turn symmetry off. And let's build some, I don't know what you call this, but let's, well, it looks like fins. So let's build some fins. Okay, so I'm just going to, I'm not going to center it. I'm just going to offset a little bit. And if you see the thickness of this piece over here, I'm guessing the canvas is actually showing the bottom where it touches. So I'll probably have to center it, but because we need to build a thickness, I'm going to go to one side. And since they should be somewhat equidistant from each other, I'm just going to create a curve like this. And that's going to be my reference point for the distance so that they are all the same. Now, that said, however, you'll see that the location is a little bit different. So what I can do is, well, let's see. Well, let's find the theoretical first. So I'm just going to grab a curve like this. And I'm going to, well, actually, let's just delete these. I don't think they're necessary for now. I'm just going to extend this curve over here. Snap it back like that. And I think that's actually pretty close. Let's see. I don't know if this is supposed to be sloping down. Well, I think this one is more parallel. Okay, so I think that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project this curve over here so that I have the same kind of gesture. And I'm just going to do a fit. Well, no, I'm not going to do a fit curve. I'm going to duplicate it. There's a span in the middle. I'm just, oh no, actually it's a degree 4. So I'm going to make it into a degree 2. And looks like the location is pretty much similar. So I'm just going to snap it over here like this. And this one can be gone. Now, this curve over here. Oh, actually, yeah, I should have actually snapped it over here. My mistake. So what I need to do is I need to move this curve over here to here like this. And from the rear view, I'm going to generate a curve like this again. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Oh, I think this is supposed to be the basically a level guide for this one. But I'm pretty sure I probably have to change it in the future. But that's okay. So now I'm just going to project like this. And I'm going to do a fit curve again. It's going to be, well, actually, let's see. Well, yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and I'm going to snap it back over here, and this curve we can delete. And I'm just going to copy this curve, these curves, put this the locator over here. I can just copy and paste and put it over here. What? No, okay, so everything's good. And now let's give it a little bit of thickness. For this one, I'm pretty sure I can just make it flat. I mean, I can try to retain, make it basically complementary in shape to this, but I don't. Well, maybe I will. Okay, so in order to do that, what I'm gonna do is I think I can just use this as a reference. So first of all, this is not located at the right location, so I'm just going to put it in the middle like this. And what I can do is I can just use this slope over here like that, and I can do the same thing over here like that, and basically that'll give us the surface that is complementary to this piece over here. But let's see, I think the intersection point is sloping down like this. Okay, so I think this might be a little bit wrong. Okay, so in order to take care of that, I wonder if I should be, I wonder if this is supposed to be sloping down too. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna make it like that then. Okay, so if that's the case, I do need to make a little bit of adjustment over here. So in order to do that, I think I need to, let's go ahead and, well, first of all, delete this curve. And I'm just going to do an insert. Not that piece. I'm going to do an insert over here like that. I don't think it's going to snap. Okay, so I'm just going to get it close. It doesn't have to be exact because we are just using this as a reference. And I'm just going to do a fit curve over here. Or you can do just a duplicate, but I'm just going to create a curve like this. Just going to delete the construction history over here, and I'm just going to snap it over here like that, and that's going to be our new reference curve. So I'm just going to snap one over here, and I'm going to snap this curve over here like this, and now it should allow us to create a curve or create a set of surfaces that is exactly parallel and matching nicely over here. So that looks good. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And now for the thickness piece, what you can do is you can just do an offset and just cut this out. But in order to do that, this does need to be extended a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to extend it all the way through. And let's go ahead and, well, actually you don't even need this anymore. You just need a locator. So I'm going to grab, actually, I do need to grab this one. So now we got two curves, and I'm going to grab these. I'm going to subtract these, and I'm going to delete. And I think yes, so that's gone. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do some trimming. So I'm going to grab these curves like this. Actually, I should probably get a curve for here too. And I'm just going to offset all these curves like that. Go the other way. Now it's 9, but let's compare this thickness against these ones over here. Looks like it's a little bit thinner visually. I think they're slightly thinner. So let's see if that's going to be thick enough. I would say, yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe I'll make it a 10, just an even number. But I think it's starting to get a little bit thick compared to this one. It does look like this vertical fins are a little bit thinner. So maybe I'll just keep it a 9. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good balance. Okay, so now let's go ahead and project. So I'm just going to grab these. Grab the curves over here, and I'm just going to project it from X, or you can always project it from the rear view. Okay, so I said that's good. These over here, I don't need that curve and surface over there, so I can just go ahead and I'm going to say keep over here. Actually, I'm going to do a divide so that they're all separate pieces. Same thing over here. I'm going to grab these ones, and I'm going to say divide. and I'm going to trim like that. That looks good. And now let's go ahead and do some draft surfaces. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to give it a little bit of draft. Let's actually, before I continue, let me just hide all these curves because there are too many of them. So I'm just going to grab the draft surface over here, and I'm going to do them one piece at a time. So right now it's pointing the other way, so I'm going to just say 3 degrees. I think that looks good. And I don't know how this is supposed to be. I'll probably have to make them parallel, but I don't know how this draft works with this surface. Now the draft angle on this piece, it could be well, I'm not sure how the draft angle is supposed to be, because right now, at least looking at this, it looks like it's pretty parallel, which means I probably need to make this parallel too, and it opens up in a different draft, which could mean that the draft vector could be pointing actually this way. But I don't know how this is supposed to work with this one. So if that was the case, there would probably need to be a parting line over here. But that is more of a engineering thing. I'm not gonna go that deep into it. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and put a flat over here and probably just draft it somewhere over in this direction. Okay, so if that's the case, I probably need to establish some surface over here. So you know what? Let's just make it parallel. I'm just going to give it a 0 draft for now. And let's just fill up some surfaces. And for the actual draft surface, let's concentrate on the details a little bit later. So I'm just going to do that and make sure the direction is good. And I'm just going to make sure that all those surfaces look good before I do anything further. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good for now. I do have to add more details, but that's going to come a little bit later. Now this piece over here, I think I might have to push it a little bit over to this side. Yes, I definitely do think that that's going to be needed. So I think this edge should actually come over here. So I might have to do a little bit of refinement. Well, actually they're supposed to fill it, I guess. So I guess it's not that critical, but it looks like I'm a little bit off center compared to the canvas. So I'll probably have to make some adjustments there. Okay. Those changes, I think I'm going to do in the next one. So that's it for part 20. We will continue in the next tutorial, and thank you guys for watching.